Unless health. Keep quiet,
I call the honourable member. Who am I? I'm going to call Dr. David.
Outrageous!
Clark, the Reverend Dr. David Clark. It was
Kia ora,
difficult.
Mr. Chair. Kia ora, Mr. Chair. Ka pai. It's an honour again to follow the Honourable Parekura Horomia. I've certainly drawn the long straw tonight in getting to follow his fabulous speeches, which get to the nub of the matter and the discrimination that is being put forward in this particular part of the bill. Of course, we should not lose sight of the fact that this is actually a step in the right direction in terms of the overall bill, but this part, for those who are listening at home, is a part of the bill that is aimed at targeting beneficiaries and making sure that life is tougher for them than for anybody else. The overall bill, of course, attempts to make sure that the increases in tobacco pricing reduce the incidence of tobacco-related harm. And that's the good part of the bill. We know that the government opposed such measures when it was in opposition, and so we're a little bit suspicious, of course, of the timing now that they've got a great big fat revenue hole that they're trying to fill. And we've heard no word at all from the Minister and the Chair through the whole debate. And we begin to wonder whether there is no response to the accusation that this is a revenue grab. It seems to be pretty jolly clear that it is, and I guess the government is too embarrassed to even try to argue otherwise, and that's consistent with what this government is doing. We've heard about the paperboy tax and the tax on cleaners in schools and so on, the moves the government's taken in order to make sure that they're grabbing taxes wherever they can, because they don't have a plan for the economy. They don't have pro-growth tax policy proposals. They're not proposing to put taxes in place that would support manufacturing industry, support our exporters. Instead, they're determined to get tax where they can off the vulnerable and to run down our public services through a reduced tax take and ever-reducing budgets. We know that they have the worst economic record in 50 years, and so it's no surprise in some ways that this tinkering bill is a little bit cynical and nasty at points. Well, we know also, and this is in advice that we received in the Select Committee, that the tobacco industry, of course, will find ways to help smokers to find to mitigate the impact of tobacco tax increases. They'll smooth the transition to higher prices, introduce lower price brands and so on. It's documented behaviour that the researchers put in front of us in the Select Committee hearings. Unfortunately, those on the very lowest incomes, those who are beneficiaries whom this part of the Act targets, will not have the luxury of riding out price increases in the same way, and we know that likely some families will suffer. And when we live in a situation where a large portion, 25% of the children in this country are living in poverty, it is disastrous that no commensurate measures are put in place to address this issue in the beneficiary population. The fact that the budget will be tighter again for them, but no additional measures are put in place to ensure that they have the tools and support necessary to kick this damaging habit. I want to put on record again, Mr. Speaker, that the Labour Party does support this bill overall, because it is important that we reduce tobacco-related harm. And we're glad that the scales have fallen from the government's eyes. It's a shame that it took a great big revenue hole to make that happen, but that the scales fell from their eyes in order to see the need to increase the excise on tobacco, thereby reducing over time, as the research tells us, the incidence of tobacco-related harm. So we know that where there are support measures in place, the public and those affected by it would support this kind of legislation. We know that the government's choosing in part 2 to put an additional burden on those who are struggling the most but choosing not at the same time to put additional support measures in place. And that is why this part of the bill is an embarrassment. We know it was a late political fix, a late political addition, because it's not spoken about in the regulatory impact statement that was considered by Cabinet. It's not considered in there. It's a cynical move to target the most vulnerable. And I would really like to hear some attempt at justification from the Chair. We've heard nothing all evening from the Chair about this measure. We've heard very little from the Chair indeed about the legislation, Mr. Chair.
I call the Honourable Member Todd McClay.
I move that the question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. As many of that opinion will please say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Party vote is called for. Clerk will please conduct the party vote. Thank you.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour. 34 votes opposed. Green Party.
14 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
8 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
2 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 vote opposed.
Act New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Honourable members, the ayes are 63, the noes are 57. The motion will be put. The question now is that part 2 stand part. All those in favour, please say aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that clauses 1 through to 3 stand part. I call the Honourable Member Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Well, the title of this bill is the Customs